Stars, I'm a fool for your love.
What's up, guys? Meet Allie. She owns Multiverse, and I just invested in them. And so in this episode, you're gonna see why I am so intrigued by mushrooms. Let's go. After I got done the bear crawl, right? Bear crawl the marathon.
This is in January of this year.
This is November. Finished the bear crawl marathon that I trained like all year for in November. December, still recovering, wasn't fully recovered, so I'm like, I gotta go to Mexico or somewhere and just get away and just recover fully. And so I went to Tulum for a month. And while I'm in Tulum, we were doing a lot of breath work. We were doing, I was just like exploring. I was down there by myself, and I met a friend, and he's like, this guy Rodo, and he's like, yo, you should come to this Journeys experience. What the heck is Journeys experience? And he's like, we go out into the woods and we do breath work, and we take some psilocybin. And I'm like, what the hell is psilocybin? Like, I know nothing about it, but I'm open-minded. I'm gonna help revamp me, help me recover. I want to go out. And so we go 2 hours into the jungle to this like really cool house on the beach, and there's like 12 of us there, and we go out to the water and we do breath work in the water. We're on our back, and then like someone's holding you, and then you flip over and you're face down in the water with goggles on, and you're just doing like heavy breathing. Like,
and you had taken mushrooms before this?
No mushrooms.
Okay.
Yeah. And so he's explaining that basically what we were doing at the time was opening our frontal lobe, and when you take mushrooms like the psilocybin, it'll help impact your brain in an even more like exaggerated way than just taking microdose or whatever. And so I'm just like going with the flow. And you ever do breath work and you're like, you kind of feel high afterwards? Yeah. So that's kind of how we all felt going inside. And then we all sit in a circle. They hand out this liquid chocolate, like psilocybin mix. Everyone drinks it. And then it was cool because it was like very spiritual. And he's like, you have to go into this with an intention. Anything you're trying to fix in your life, anything you want to like help yourself with or revamp, whatever. He's like, just think of that before you drink it. And so I like sat there for like 5 minutes. I'm like, all right, what do I want to fix in my life? So I started like deep diving, and I finally like figured out what I wanted to fix, and like just like a couple things here and there. And so I take it, and then like they start playing like these drums on the side. They start humming, and he's like, shut your eyes, and you kind of just like shut your eyes, and you're just like going with the flow. That's when it started to like kick in. It definitely wasn't micro. It was definitely more than like what a microdose is. You kind of start getting in the flow, and my brain just felt like it was just connecting, like to everything. Like everything was connecting. I was able to. Were you
having like pretty strong visuals?
I was having visuals. I literally felt like I was walking inside my brain. Like I was just like, what the fuck is going on here? This is awesome. And like I'm figuring out my issues. And so we would basically go 20, 30 minutes on, and then maybe 10 minutes off, and we would do it for like 8 hours. Once that like was kind of done, I actually figured out what I was trying to solve in my brain, which is awesome. But they were like, guys, the Mayans just got here and they have bufo. And I'm like, the heck is bufo? And they're like, well, you can only get it 3 months out of the year. It's frog like venom. If you want to go like 10 times deeper, we can bring you on the beach and like we can take you through a whole ceremony. I'm like, oh my God, all right. I literally, this is all in one day, 12 hours. And so then I was like, I'm in, let's do it. And so the Mayans like walked me down and talked me through it. They're like, you're gonna be fine. Just trust us. Thank you for doing this. All right. And so then I sit down, they give me like a mantra, and the mantra went something like this: was, I love myself, I love others, I love God, I want to help myself, I want to help others, I want to help God. Like just like a whole like super positive mantra.
Yeah.
And I read it, and I'm like crossing my hands like this, like an Indian style, and they come up to me and they're like rubbing me, and they're like, Devon, thank you so much for doing this. You're gonna have a great journey. Don't be afraid, just go with the flow. I'm with Mayans. I literally might get sacrificed right now. Like, I'm so new to it. I'm like...
And did you have like who was there with you, kind of like guiding you through this?
The Mayans, and also like...
Did you have a friend? Did you have a...
Yeah, I had the guy I met last night, like the night before. Yeah, so no one...
So you're like totally...
Yeah, no one I really know.
Wait a minute. Who are you?
And so then finally, I like sit there and they bring like this buffo, which is like DMT,
right.
and they like light it and I inhale and then exhale and then I inhale again and they put their hand over my mouth. They lay me flat on my back and they're like, swallow it, and I'm like, okay. And so I'm like, I swallow it and like everything just went numb and I was like, holy shit, like I literally might die right now. And so I was like kind of scared. And then 5 minutes in, I'm like kind of freaking out and they're like, surrender. They're like yelling at me. They're like, surrender. And then they start singing and they're like, surrender. And I'm like, all right, fuck. Like, and so I just like relaxed my whole body. And at that point, maybe like 5 minutes after that, so we're 10 minutes in, I just started like smiling. Couldn't stop smiling. And then they were like singing and I was just like, I'm gonna start singing with them. So I started like singing with them 20, 25 minutes. It somewhat went away, but I was still like super happy and they like me up and like sit up and I just sit up and I look around. There's like Mayans around me, like modern day, like these really cool people, palm tree, you're on the beach in Mexico, and I'm like, life literally couldn't be better right now. And it was just like the most positive experience, and ever since then, if I'm ever irritated, just like kind of annoyed, I always think back to that moment. Remember how good that was? Like just think about that. That's how I got introduced to psilocybin.
Oh, you really went full throttle.
Full throttle.
It wasn't enough to try one psychedelic in one day.
Yeah.
You just had to go layer them on top
everything.
of each other.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
That's kind of how I do things, though. I'm not gonna like slowly go into it. I'm either doing it or I'm not.
You're not just gonna climb one mountain. You're gonna climb all of them.
Exactly. I'm gonna climb every single one.
Wow. Okay. So since thank you for sharing that. So
yeah, of course.
Since that moment, then that was like your first kind of introduction to psilocybin. We talked a little bit about like microdosing and stuff. How has your kind of mindset on it evolved? Like, what have you learned?
So, how to change your mind?
Yeah, you read that book afterwards. That's like the best starter kit.
Fantastic Fungi. I watched that, and I truly think that there's a key to mushrooms. I'm only somewhat educated in the psilocybin. I don't know too much about other mushrooms, but the psilocybin part, I truly think that it will help not only open people's brain to think, to be more positive, to be open-minded, to be more creative, and actually help people that like can't stay focused, like myself. I'm prescribed 60 milligrams of Adderall a day. Like I don't take Adderall anymore. I'll microdose. Why am I taking a man-made drug when I can take a natural plant? That's kind of my thought process behind it. I think it's the future. I think if it can if it can help me, it can definitely help others. And I also think from the mental health, PTSD, NFL players that are experiencing mental health trauma, I think it'll actually help them. And now studies, I guess, are coming out about that. But yeah, that's really it. That's all. Everything I just told you is pretty much all I know.
Amazing. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the space is obviously exploding, both from obviously super mushroom versus functional mushrooms, but so much of everything that we're doing is intense research on the psilocybin and psychedelic side of things, because both of these industries are really rising together. What I think is fascinating about what you said is so much of the common path for the average person in the United States is, you're introduced to really shitty food full of chemicals that technically shouldn't even be allowed in your products at a really young age. A lot of those chemicals and dyes and artificial stuff can cause a lot of ADHD type symptoms. And so parents will take, and this is happened to both my siblings. I'm from Missouri. Most people around me went through this process, and you take your kid to the doctor because they can't focus. They get on some sort of Adderall, Ritalin, Concerta, what have you. In the next 2 years, there's a really high likelihood you're going to be put on some sort of antidepressant to cover the symptoms of that first pill. And so by the time you're 25 years old, with 8 pills stacked against you, you're numb, for lack of a better word. And in 2017, I think the average American is on somewhere around 17 prescriptions. Obviously, that's massively skewed for people that have chronic illnesses, but just that stat alone shows you so many people are on prescription medications, and why psilocybin specifically, that's out of all the psychedelics, that's the one I'm focused on the most. Why that's so profound? Why it's so profound, and why it's companies are raising hundreds of millions of dollars and getting billion-dollar valuations to study psychedelics is because all of these clinical research trials that are coming out are showing that people that have 8 pills stacked against them from a lifetime of use, or PTSD or anxiety or depression or any of these sort of mental health disorders, are going in for 1, maybe 2 sessions of psilocybin treatment, psychedelic assisted therapy, going through that integration process, and then curing a lot of these problems, like getting off of their pills completely. And so the research is so profound on so many levels, and I think a lot of people compare what's happening with psilocybin and other psychedelics like MDMA, ketamine, to the cannabis industry. And the best arguments I've heard in comparing the two is that they're, while there's like similar paths to legalization, they're nowhere near the same effectiveness.
Yeah, not even close.
Yeah, like the total addressable market for mental health is around 1 billion people globally, depending on which studies you look at, suffer from some sort of mental health disorder.
Wow.
And psilocybin addresses that entire market.
Do all mushrooms have psilocybin in them?
No. So if you were to break down, like, we've seen Fantastic Fungi.
Yeah.
Best movie ever. It's
so
like,
good.
I think it's like an hour and 29 minutes, and it's such a beautiful full circle description of the fungi kingdom, the mycelium network, psychedelic mushrooms, functional mushrooms, and so many people, conversations I have every single day are around this topic because everyone's first question when we're talking about functional mushrooms, which are dietary supplements that you can find in Whole Foods, is will these get me high? And there's around 2,000 species of edible and medicinal mushrooms. 13 of those are considered to be functional, or they have some sort of specific function to help your, boost your immune system or reduce stress or like focus, everything. Like, and all of them are kind of catch-alls as far as taking these 13 or so primary functional mushrooms. Okay. But then there's psilocybin mushrooms, which has psilocybin, which is the psychoactive part of magic mushrooms. So when you hear people say magic mushrooms, those are psilocybin mushrooms. Those are still.
How many of those are there about?
There's only psilocybin is a single compound.
It's one mushroom.
One mushroom, but there's a bunch of different types of psilocybin mushrooms.
Got it. Okay.
So, like within that category, there's the common ones you'll hear about when you hear people talking about psilocybin mushrooms are golden teachers, Thai. There's a strain that's really popular called penis envy, which is like known to be the most intense psychedelic mushroom that there is. Wow. So there's kind of like these two different categories, and then within functional and psychedelics, there's different.
Subcategories or subkinds.
Yeah, and I think what's so interesting about how both of these two worlds connect is that you've seen Fantastic Fungi, so they explain this so beautifully, but underneath every single foot that you walk around on, like there is a vast interconnected web. It kind of looks like if you were to think about the root structure underneath a tree compared to like the leaves and the trees above ground. Mycelium network is underground every single foot around the diameter or circumference of the Earth. Got it. Which is so insane. And
everything good?
And it connects all living things.
So underneath all of us, right now, there's mushrooms.
There's like basically a vast interconnected web of mycelium.
To each other.
Yes, and why it's so cool, why that's so cool is that that's like kind of the digestive system of the earth, and so nutrients are passed through this entire system. And when you see mushrooms sprouting out, above ground, it's the tip of the iceberg. So it's actually connected to this vast, it's called the wood wide web. Wow. And so the visuals in Fantastic Fungi are so beautiful for explaining that.
Visually, because you kind of need to see it.
Yeah, but it's really the digestive system of the entire earth, and just to kind of bring it full circle and talk about how all these things that interrelate. So much of what you're talking about with psychedelics, that's one area of mushrooms and fungi that's so profound, but they're being used across every single industry.
For other things.
Every single industry.
So on Multiverse, the products that are on there are that they're obviously no psilocybin, but they're the other 13 mushrooms.
Yeah, so the other, chaga, lion's mane, reishi, turkey tail, cordyceps, which is an incredible one for athletic performance. Those are the most common ones you'll see used in functional mushroom supplements and snacks and tinctures and beverages are even starting to get into that area. But they're incredible for your health. And so, a lot of people use functional mushrooms as overall immune system boosters. They help reduce stress. But each one of these functional mushrooms has kind of a different use case. So lion's mane is one of the most commonly associated with brain health and creativity and focus. So you'll see those in like a lot of nootropic supplements. Lion's mane is also commonly combined with psilocybin when people are microdosing it, because the combination and like synergy between those two compounds produces a lot of really beneficial effects for people. So that's kind of like the breakdown of all of them, but that's just like health benefits for the fruiting body of the mushroom. That's like the best part to use. Then there's this whole other side where the mycelium, which is that vast interconnected web underneath the earth, all of mycelium is being used as like packaging alternatives, which is so crazy. So companies like, big companies, Adidas, Stella McCartney, huge, massive companies are getting into using mycelium for leather, for like purses, for shoes, because it's one of the most sustainable materials that you can build from.
That's interesting.
So it's really like they're transforming every single industry, and that's why so much of what we talk about, I know we've talked about before, is like if done correctly, mushrooms actually can save the world. Like they can reverse toxins out of the air. It's really crazy.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
How would someone like, if I'm talking to a beginner, like I was, I kind of just went full throttle, and just like started doing mushrooms with the Mayans. But like if someone doesn't have access to that, like how would they kind of go about it? Like, do they research it? Do they read, How to Change Your Mind? Do they watch Fantastic Monday? Then do they go on Multiverse and just like try to grab some products on like different products that will help them specifically? Or
It's such a good question, because so much of what I talk about every day and like what the whole purpose of what we're building at the Multiverse is to help people that are in this mushroom curious category. Maybe you're like walking into a juice shop and you see a chaga infused elixir and you're like not really sure what it is. You're confused if functional mushrooms get you high. You're in this like mushroom curious phase.
Whoa, sorry.
Good.
Sorry guys.
Stay tuned.
Okay, so first timer, they're like, ooh, I want to try mushrooms. What do they do?
So you kind of hit two of like the main points, like nail on the head, is to help people understand. Like I kind of break it down to like categories of like read, watch, listen.
Yeah.
Everyone that is mushroom curious, I tell them to go watch Fantastic Fungi. It's a documentary directed and produced by Louis Schwartzberg. Incredible filmmaker. It took him about 10 years to make. The visuals alone in this film are insane. Yeah. The time lapses and like the beauty of mushrooms is really, really done so well.
Insane.
It's an amazing movie, and it covers everything from how the mycelium network operates, who the biggest players in the space are, the benefits of psychedelics and psilocybin mushrooms, the benefits of functional mushrooms like turkey tail, chaga, and reishi. So it's kind of like a catch-all for intro to the mushroom space. For people that are specifically interested in psychedelics, which a lot of the questions, and we get questions all the time from customers that are coming through the Multiverse and their Instagram saying, do your products get me high? The answer is no, but we're really supportive of all the work that's going on in the psychedelic space. Because we want to help point people to the right resources, because so much of how this space is going to evolve and like why it's so important to support the right people and point to the right stuff is because there's a need for the right people and the right information. So what we point people to is How to Change Your Mind, which was written by Michael Pollan a few years ago. Again, such an incredible full picture on psychedelics, from the history of psychedelics being banned in the 60s to this dark period that they went underground for the last few decades, because all the research that's happening now and
But they're arising now for sure. You see them everywhere.
And so much of there's hundreds of trials underway right now researching everything from MDMA, ketamine, psilocybin. So much research is being funded. Obviously, that's why all these companies are raising all this money. But How to Change Your Mind, why it was so profound, and like I think this is really important for people to know as well, and why it's awesome like that people like you are now becoming advocates and getting into the space, is because for me, like my kind of turning point with psychedelics was I started looking at and really researching and paying attention to the space when people like Tim Ferriss and Michael Pollan started really talking about it and actively funding it and really advocating for it.
Yeah.
I didn't follow Michael Pollan and Tim Ferriss because of their original belief in psychedelics. I followed them because of their life hacks and diet advice. And they've built audiences in their respective worlds for the last, in Michael Pollan's case, a few decades, in Tim Ferriss's case, like the last decade or so. And so they had people from completely different audiences that they provided legitimacy now to psychedelics. So when you have someone like a Michael Pollan putting their name behind it, or like a Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank, who's now one of the major investors in a psychedelic life sciences company, people start to pay attention because it provides legitimacy. And so much of what I talk about all the time, and a lot of the events that I want to host and bring together people around this space, is how do you normalize something that was historically so taboo and still is on a lot of levels.
Well, I think like being in the hospitality world, and you're so good at it, like events and stuff, when you make people feel welcome, you make people not have to feel stressed in a certain situation is like the best way for you to normalize something. I don't want to go to like drinking or anything. If I walk into a room and it's Nico's house and he's drinking a beer, it's going to normalize for me. Okay, I'm probably going to have a beer.
Right.
You know what I mean? If you walk into a room and people are like passionate and, people have real testimonials on mushrooms, maybe they're microdosing or they're using it in different foods and they're just talking about it, it's normalizing it for those people. And now you just keep building and building those groups up in the community and the experiential, and it just starts to, I don't know, like grill a market to each other.
For sure. And to use you as an example, like a lot of people now, if you start actively talking about psilocybin and microdosing and even functional mushrooms, people may not, most of your audience did not originally follow you for that type of content. They got into you because, of like maybe all of your content on fitness and like mindset and all these other things. And so like psychedelics should be inclusive of the wellness conversation, in my opinion. It's not, you're not a granola hippie from the 60s that a lot of people associate with psychedelics, which that's all fine and good, but why it's so important to have people from like all different walks of life is like that's how you move culture.
Oh, I know a lot of major CEOs that microdose.
Major. I mean, Silicon Valley was built, was a lot of the best companies in the world were built attributing their success.
The book, Stealing Fire.
Yeah.
You ever read that, Stealing Fire? Stealing Fire. It's great. And I think they talk about it in a little bit, but they were talking about the former like Google's like CEOs and like how they went to like Burning Man and found their new CEO, and like definitely microdosing and mushrooms involved in that whole situation.
And it's cool because now you have people coming out and starting to responsibly talk about using these substances, and it's wild that something like a psilocybin with the effects that it can passively have on someone's brain is still illegal. Obviously, we're shifting towards legalization. Like California just introduced a bill to legalize psilocybin earlier this week, which is incredible. It's been legalized for medical use in Oregon and other places.
So Oregon is medical use is good. California is just passed a bill, or
so like to start they'll follow the path of cannabis in a lot of ways. So state by state. Legalization, decriminalization in different cities. But a lot of what's so exciting right now is that people are coming kind of out of the woodworks to talk about these things and normalizing them. And that's what's shifting the culture around it. And I think that, why I'm excited to see like young people and women and like people that are like awesome, cool entrepreneurs get involved in this space is historically, which is fine because a lot of these people are incredible and they've pioneered the space since the 60s, but a lot of the major players in psychedelics are older white men. And so those people are so important, but it's just as important to have, females and like young millennial entrepreneurs talking about these spaces because that's what's driving culture.
And like different demographics. And,
different demographics. Like that's, people that are stepping kind of like out of the conformity of their safe world to talk about something different. And that's what moves people. You've seen, that's
and
like
you build
the pattern
a community, and like I've massively seen a difference of my focus, my creativity, just thinking outside the box, not doing things because you were taught that in business school or whatever. This is the best way to set this up, and like I just thought of it. People are like, how the fuck did you come up with that idea? I don't know. I think it has
But you're
something to do with the
noticing
microdose thing.
like you're noticing yourself thinking differently, which
I
is
notice myself think so outside the box whenever I microdose.
and that's, you know, the most simple and like best way I've ever heard someone describe what psychedelics does, and this is like, you know, a layman's term for like the deep the deep science of like what's actually going on in your brain, but it removes you from your default mode network, which is like where we form habits. And so much of like the habitual, we're just a walking habit, right? Like humans are just like a giant walking habit. You know how when you like will walk into your house and you didn't even realize you like locked the door and like put your keys in a certain place because we're so, you know, committed to our habit that they become subconscious. And so what that does is like it brings all of your habits to kind of the forefront to be looked at, and what your brain looks like when it's on psilocybin, whether it's a microdose or a macrodose. It's actually very similar to someone's brain when they're in a state of transcendental meditation, which is really profound in and of itself. And you're seeing new neural pathways being connected. So your brain is actually thinking differently. And why integration and really processing those profound experiences that you have, whether it's through microdosing or like macrodosing. Why that's so important is because that's what solidifies those new neural connections. And why you have people that, you know, are heavy cigarette smokers, you know, why you have some of these people that can't break that habit, go in, have this experience because your brain is in this neuroplastic state when it's on a psychedelic like psilocybin. And in that state of like plasticity, you're able to change the way that you think. And like, you know, why the book How to Change Your Mind is called How to Change Your Mind is because it's telling you
literally how to change your mind. Literally.
And you know, I think a lot of people, and I'm curious if you have, just based on like where you're from, like I'm from Missouri, so trying to explain to my family what I do for a living, my extended family, is just hysterical still. Because so much.
It took a long time. To explain to like my family what I was doing. They're like, huh? What? What does that mean? I'm like, I don't know. It's working though. It worked for me.
Well, and so much. I'm sure that like, you know, a lot of people where I grew up, like we grew up with the DARE program. You know, drugs are bad, and this is like X, Y, and Z, Y. And there's such a need to change that cultural narrative around the stigma around
plants, and like I call marijuana, psilocybin, mushrooms, and honestly just like now knowing like the two types, like mushrooms, I used to call them like sacred plants. That's the best way I can describe them to people, rather than a drug or a substance. It's a sacred plant that people have literally been using for centuries. So like why all of a sudden are we saying
thousands of years, and that's what's so cool too. Like, you know, as far as resources people should check out, you should definitely read this book. I'm only halfway through it. It's like a pretty intense book to get through, but it's fascinating. It's called The Immortality Key. Immortality Key. And the high level of like what the book is about is, you know,
Notes.
The Spark Notes is this guy. He's incredible. His name's Brian Marascu. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his last name right. But he spent the last like 12 or 13 years researching psychedelics as the basis of like a lot of ancient rituals that started religion, including, you know, most Western religions, including Christianity. So this book is creating such a buzz amongst the community because what he's found, and like so much of his research, he's like going into ancient Greece and analyzing ruins and like these cups that were used and, you know, the origins of these, you know, religious sacraments.
Whoa, I gotta read this book.
And they're finding psychedelic infused beer, like the remains of psychedelic infused beer, you know, a barley that was infused with ergo, and there's all these reports of people having like psychedelic experiences and visions, and you know, it's wild. Really worth checking out.